Hi, this is Tom Farley from recovery.com with another story from my journey. A few years ago, I got a call out of the blue. Somebody called me from one of the prisons in Wisconsin, and she reached out to me and she said, "You do a lot of talking on recovery and treatment. Do you ever come into prisons and talk to the people working on recovery there?" And I had to honestly say no, I had not done that because I was like, what do prisons have to do with me? That's over there, and they're doing all that work. And no, it's just not something I um, had ever done before. But it made me pause because I had done so much work in the stigma surrounding addiction, and I loved kind of recreating that narrative. But when I was asked to go into prisons, I had to ask myself, am I walking around with maybe not stigmas, but opinions about prisons and the people in them? That made me uncomfortable. I didn't like that. So I said yes. And that prison told another prison, and they told, next thing you know, I'm on a whole tour of prisons. But I'm going in and I'm talking to these people doing this great recovery work in prisons. And I connected to that. And my message to them was, I'm not here to motivate you or speak to you about recovery. I'm just here telling my story because I'm in recovery and this is where I need to be and who I need to be with, no matter where that is. And I tried to say that in as humble and sincere way I could. And, it resonated and there was a connection there. And it was a wonderful experience that I carry with me today. But more so, 6 months after that, I was speaking up in Green Bay at a friend of mine's. It was a gala for her sober living facilities. And I did a speech. And afterwards, this kid comes up to me, khakis, polo shirt, nice haircut. And he said, "That was a great speech, but I've heard you speak before." And I was thinking, high school or community, I've done so many speeches. And I'm like, "That's great. Where did you hear me?" And he said, "I was in Red Granite Prison 6 months ago. I've gotten out. And since I've gotten out, I've got a job. My family's talking to me. I have a roof over my head." And I'm looking at this kid going like, "You?" And it struck me. And I've said this to every community I've gone into since, is there are people in our communities that we've written off. They've written themselves off. Families have written them off. And here they are back in our community doing amazing stuff. And just like I did, we need to see that. We need to see what it looks like to see a healed human. It's an amazing thing. And I got to see that firsthand. And I just never thought about that in the same way again. I look for that. I look for the people that are doing amazing stuff. Doesn't matter where, what their journey looked like. And it might be a different journey than mine, but the one thing that's the same is that we're both in recovery doing amazing stuff. There's no difference between that kid and me. And I hope people see that. Thanks.